I'm going to show you here how to use stamps and sprigs. So this is a stamp that I bought at www.4clay.com, and they'll make a stamp for you out of wood based on a drawing that you've done. It does take a little bit of time to arrive, so this is a useful one if you're going to be doing a lot of work, but maybe not for the immediate stamping that you want to do. This is another stamp, just a clay stamp that I made during class. It says CS backwards, so that when I stamp it into the clay, it says CS for clay sale. And you can do this with your initials. You can also make stamps out of textures and things you find around the studio. So making a stamp is pretty simple. You just kind of take a ball of clay, maybe flatten it on the bottom, and then you can use a variety of tools to press into the surface. Use a needle tool, use a wooden knife, and you can draw your marks into that surface. Remember to reverse the marks that you're making, or you're going to end up with a stamp that's facing the wrong way. So here I'm just kind of doing my initials. Some of my favorite tools that you might actually use are a ballpoint pen or a sharpened pencil. A needle tool tends to give you kind of a scratchy line, so if you draw it with a needle tool, make sure you go back in there and redraw it so it's a little bit thicker, a little bit deeper. You can see this one was probably done with a ballpoint pen. And you can use a dead ballpoint pen, or you can just clean out the ballpoint pen and keep writing with it, and just make sure you reverse them. Then this piece here is done with wet clay. Obviously it's not going to stamp particularly well now, but once I let it dry and fire it so it's nice and strong, you can see this one's been bisque fired, it's going to work pretty well. The other sort of stamp-like thing you can make, either for a maker's mark or just for decoration, is a sprig. So this is a concave stamp, or essentially a little mold. And how this works, this is also fired ceramic, but instead of pressing it onto the clay like that, you're going to press clay into it, like this. And then once you've pressed it in, the stamp actually absorbs a little bit of the water from the clay. The clay shrinks just a tiny bit, and that allows it to pop out. And so here we have a little, I think this one was made off of a button. I can go ahead and score, add a little bit of slip, attach this on either as a maker's mark or as simply a decoration. To make a sprig like that, a concave stamp, you do very similar sort of thing. You can take a ball of clay, but instead of just flattening it, you're going to want to make it a little bit concave. And you can do this, I'm shaping it into a concave shape with just my finger, and then I can go in and mark it with different kinds of tools, make different kinds of decorations if I want to, or I can take and make that impression off of things I've found around the studio, or around the house, or wherever you're out on a walk. So this is the end of a shell. I'm going to press this clay on. One of the tricky things with these is sometimes you get a material that's not absorbent, won't absorb the water out of this clay, so it's a little hard to get off. Here, the shell works pretty well. I'll just wiggle it off. And now I have this concave mold shape, this sprig, and once I've dried it and it becomes ceramic, I can press clay into there, and I'll be left with an impression that looks like a shell coming out of the side of my clay, and then I can add it onto here.